The Galactic Academy was known as the greatest school in the galaxy. It was built on a huge space station that floated in orbit around a blue star. Here, students from hundreds of alien species came to study, learn, and train to become leaders of the future. The Academy's classrooms were filled with strange shapes, colors, and sounds. Students with wings, scales, shells, fur, or glowing skin all sat together, learning the same lessons. In one of the training halls, a group of young cadets gathered. The room was large, with smooth metal walls and a floor marked with training circles. Desks and chairs were arranged in rows, but today the instructor had something different planned. The instructor, a tall alien with gray skin and 4 arms, stood at the front. His name was Instructor Vera, a veteran of many battles. His eyes glowed yellow as he looked at his students. "Today," Vera said, his deep voice echoing, "you will face a simple challenge. Build a weapon. Use whatever you find in this room. Time limit, 1 hour." The class erupted in whispers and excitement. Alien cadets looked around the room, scanning the chairs, desks, walls, and ceiling. Some students already began pulling materials together. For them, it was a chance to show off their intelligence and creativity. One student with insect-like wings clicked his mandibles and began secreting a sticky resin, shaping it into sharp blades. Another cadet, tall and reptilian, ripped wires from a control panel and began shaping them into an electric whip. A smaller alien with a jelly-like body created chemical tubes that started glowing with acid. Everywhere there was noise, activity, and energy. In the middle of the room sat a single human. His name was Daniel Carter. He was the only human cadet in this class, maybe even in the entire academy. Humans were rare here. Most other species thought of them as weak and fragile, from a dangerous planet that produced unpredictable survivors. Daniel didn't mind being underestimated. He had grown used to the stares. Now, as the others worked furiously, Daniel sat calmly in his chair. His arms were folded. His brown eyes scanned the room, but he didn't rush. He seemed too relaxed, as if the challenge didn't bother him. Some aliens noticed and laughed. "Look at the soft worlder," one whispered. "He doesn't even know what to do," another chuckled. "He will fail," said a third. "He has nothing." Daniel ignored them. He leaned back, watching. His mind went to something his grandfather once told him back on Earth. The simplest tools can be the deadliest if you know how to use them. Minutes passed. The alien cadets were sweating, buzzing, or humming as they built their weapons. Sparks lit the air. Strange smells of acid and resin filled the hall. Instructor Vera walked among them, nodding or correcting, clearly impressed with their work. Then his eyes narrowed when he saw Daniel. "Human," Vera said. "Why are you not working?" Daniel looked up calmly. "I am working," he said. The instructor raised an eyebrow. The other cadets laughed louder. "Working? He does nothing," shouted the reptilian student. Daniel stood up. He walked to the nearest chair, gripped it with both hands, and in one strong motion snapped one of the wooden legs clean off. The sound echoed through the room. The alien stopped laughing. Daniel sat back down, holding the chair leg. He pressed the broken end against the floor, sharpening it with steady movements. Scrape, scrape, scrape. The sound was slow and patient. Soon the end was sharp like a point. He stood up again, held the stick high, and spoke in a calm voice. "This," he said, "is a spear." The entire class went silent. The insectoid blinked in confusion. "That is only a stick," the reptilian cadet hissed. "It cannot even cut metal," the jelly-bodied alien bubbled. "Primitive, worthless." But Instructor Vera didn't laugh. He stared at Daniel's face. The human's eyes were calm, his grip on the stick steady. Vera had fought in many wars. He knew the look of a fighter. The human's gaze was not weak. It was the gaze of someone who had seen danger before and survived it. Still, Vera couldn't show doubt in front of the class. "A stick will not save you," he said coldly. "But if you believe it is a weapon, then you will prove it." The other cadets smirked, certain the human would be humiliated. But some of them, deep inside, felt a strange unease. They didn't understand why. But there was something about the way Daniel held that crude chair leg. It was not the weapon itself. It was the way he carried it, the way he believed in it. Daniel simply lowered the spear and sat back down. He didn't speak again. He didn't need to. The alien students returned to their work, though their whispers continued. Some mocked him. Others dismissed him, but one or two exchanged nervous glances. In their own cultures, weapons were complicated machines, glowing tools of power. Yet the human had chosen something simple: Too simple, and yet, somehow it felt dangerous. Instructor Vera finally raised his voice again. Enough, the time is almost up. Soon we will test your creations. Prepare yourselves. Around the room, cadets lifted their strange weapons, plasma throwers, acid tubes, spiked resin claws. The air was heavy with energy. Only Daniel sat with something silent, something ancient, something older than the galaxy itself. A sharpened stick, the first weapon his species had ever made. The lesson had not even begun, yet the classroom already felt different. Something invisible had shifted. No one would admit it yet, but in the back of their minds the cadets carried a single thought. If a human calls that a weapon, perhaps it truly is. The 1-hour limit ended. Instructor Vera raised one of his forearms high, signaling silence. The buzzing, scraping, and glowing sounds from alien tools stopped. Every cadet held their finished weapon proudly, showing their creativity. Now, Vera announced, his voice deep and firm, we will test your work. One by one you will face the training drone. It will attack. You will defend. Only then will we see if your weapon deserves to be called a weapon. At his command, a hidden panel on the far wall slid open. A large combat drone stepped out. It was made of dark metal with glowing red eyes and powerful arms ending in sharp claws. Its legs were thick and fast, and its chest armor shone like steel. The cadets whispered nervously. Everyone knew these drones. They were designed for training soldiers. Their claws could cut through steel, and their movements were unpredictable. This was no easy test. The insectoid cadet stepped forward first. He carried 2 blades made of hardened resin. He spread his wings, clicked his mandibles, and prepared to fight. The drone charged. Sparks flashed as resin blades met metal claws. The insectoid fought bravely, striking again and again. His blades left scratches, but the drone's armor was too strong. After several minutes, the cadet was knocked back, his weapon shattered. Instructor Vera stopped the fight before anyone was harmed. Good effort, he said, though his tone was calm. But not enough. Next, the reptilian cadet came forward with his electric whip. He cracked it through the air, sending sparks across the floor. The whip wrapped around the drone's arm, delivering shocks. The machine shook violently but kept moving. With one strong pull, the drone tore free and nearly knocked the reptilian off his feet. His weapon fizzled out after only a few strikes. One by one, the cadet stepped up. Acid tubes sprayed and hissed, leaving burns on the drone's armor. Energy spikes fired but overheated. Spiked resin claws broke apart. Every attempt left marks, but none destroyed the drone. The students began to realize how difficult this challenge truly was. Some glanced at Daniel, smirking again, waiting for him to be embarrassed. After all, what chance did a sharpened chair leg have against a combat machine that shrugged off plasma? At last, Instructor Vera turned toward Daniel. Human, he said. Your turn. The room grew tense. All eyes focused on him. Daniel stood calmly, holding his spear. He didn't look nervous. His face was steady, his posture firm. He stepped into the circle. The drone's red eyes locked onto him. With a metallic roar, it charged. Its claws slashed the air. Its legs pounded the floor. The alien cadets leaned forward. They expected the human to run, to panic, or to fall instantly. But Daniel didn't move until the last second. When the drone's claw came down, Daniel stepped aside smoothly. The strike hit empty air. With quick precision, Daniel thrust his spear into the joint where the drone's arm connected to its shoulder. The wood pierced the seam with a loud crack. Sparks flew. The drone staggered. Gasps filled the room. The drone swung again. Daniel ducked under it, rolled to the side, and stabbed the spear into the machine's leg joint. Another burst of sparks. The drone's movement slowed. Impossible, one cadet cried. He is striking the weak points, whispered another. Daniel's face remained calm. He wasn't rushing. His movements were sharp, practiced, and confident, as if he had done this many times before. He stepped lightly, dodged claws, and struck only when he saw an opening. Finally, the drone charged in desperation, claws raised high. Daniel didn't retreat. He planted his feet, aimed carefully, and thrust his spear straight into the drone's chest seam, right where its armor plates overlapped. The spear drove deep. The red lights in the drone's eyes flickered, then went dark. Its claws dropped. With a loud thud, the machine collapsed to the floor, lifeless. The entire hall went silent. Daniel pulled his spear free and stood tall, breathing steadily. His simple stick had done what advanced alien weapons could not. It had ended the fight. The cadets stared in shock. Some dropped their weapons, unable to believe what they had seen. The reptilian hissed quietly. The insectoid tilted his head, his wings trembling. The jelly-bodied alien bubbled in disbelief. Instructor Vera's yellow eyes glowed brighter. He was not laughing now. His forearms were crossed, his face unreadable. Daniel spoke, his voice calm but strong. Weapons do not need to be complicated. They only need to be effective. Humans learned this long ago when we hunted animals larger than us with nothing but sharpened sticks. A spear is simple, but simple works. The words cut deeper than any blade. The aliens had grown up in a galaxy of machines, tools, and advanced technology. They thought power came from energy cores and plasma chambers. Yet here was a human, showing them that true power came from knowledge, instinct, and courage. Some cadets felt admiration. Others felt unease. A few felt fear. The insectoid whispered, "If a human can do this with wood, what can they do with real weapons?" The reptilian muttered, "He made a toy into a killer's tool." The jelly-bodied alien said softly, "Their planet must be a nightmare, if they learned this way of fighting." Instructor Vera raised one arm for silence. He walked toward Daniel, his heavy steps echoing. He stopped only a few feet away, looking down at the human with a serious expression. "Interesting," Vera said slowly. "You have shown skill, but now you will face me. Let us see if your spear can stand against a true warrior." The class gasped. A duel with the instructor was no small matter. Vera was known as one of the best fighters in the academy. His forearms were strong enough to crush steel. His weapon, a glowing energy blade strapped to his side, was feared by many. Daniel didn't flinch. He gripped his spear tighter and nodded once. The room filled with tension. Aliens leaned forward, whispering nervously. Some hoped to see the human finally defeated. Others wanted to see how far he could go. Instructor Vera drew his blade. A line of blue energy hissed into the air, bright and deadly. He twirled it with his forearms, a display of speed and power. "Prepare yourself, human." Daniel simply raised his spear and stood ready, his stance calm, his eyes sharp. The duel was about to begin. The training hall was silent. The students sat frozen, their alien eyes locked on the circle where the human stood facing Instructor Vera. The shattered drone still lay on the floor, sparks fading from its broken joints. Daniel's spear, a simple chair leg sharpened to a point, gleamed faintly under the training lights. Instructor Vera's energy blade glowed with bright blue fire. He rotated it between his forearms, the hum filling the air with a dangerous sound. His yellow eyes were fixed on Daniel, serious and sharp. "Do not think your victory against the drone makes you strong," Vera said. "Machines are predictable, I am not. Show me if your stick can stop me." The other cadets whispered nervously. Some leaned forward, eager to see the human crushed. Others were frightened, uncertain what they would witness. Daniel took a slow breath. His stance shifted, feet apart, spear gripped firmly. He did not speak. He only watched. The duel began with a flash. Vera lunged forward, his energy blade sweeping down with the force of a hammer. Daniel sidestepped at the last instant, the glowing blade slicing the air where he had been. Without hesitation, the human thrust his spear toward Vera's chest. The instructor blocked with one of his lower arms, deflecting the strike with the flat of his blade. Sparks danced. The students gasped. The fight was fast, too fast for many to follow. Vera pressed harder, striking again and again with speed and strength. Forearms moved like a storm, blades slashing from every angle. Most warriors would have been overwhelmed in seconds, but Daniel moved with precision. He ducked, twisted, and stepped lightly, letting the blows pass close but never touch him. His spear darted in and out, always aiming for weak points. Armor seams, gaps in joints, soft spots between plates. Each strike was met with a block or deflection, but every time Vera had to work harder to stop him. The alien cadets could not believe their eyes. "He should be dead already," the reptilian whispered. "How is he moving so fast?" asked the insectoid, wings trembling. The jelly-bodied cadet bubbled softly. "It is not speed. It is control. He knows exactly where to strike." Vera grew more aggressive. He spun, striking with 2 blades high and 2 blades low. Daniel leapt back, barely avoiding them, then lunged forward and stabbed the spear toward Vera's shoulder seam. The point struck true, scraping against armor before sliding away. The instructor snarled and shoved him back. The blue blade slashed across the floor, leaving a glowing line. "You are skilled," Vera admitted. But your stick will break before I fall. Daniel's eyes narrowed. He didn't argue. Instead, he shifted his grip on the spear, holding it lower, as if preparing for a final strike. His body moved with calm confidence like a hunter facing dangerous prey. Vera charged again, his energy blades swirling. The room glowed blue with every strike. Daniel dodged left, then right, blocking with the shaft of the spear. Sparks leapt each time wood met plasma. The cadets expected the chair leg to shatter, but it held, reinforced by the human's steady grip. At last, the instructor swung high with all four arms. The strike was powerful, meant to finish the duel. Daniel dropped low, rolled under the blades, and rose behind Vera. In one swift motion, he drove the spear into the gap beneath the instructor's arm, an exposed joint where the armor plates met. The spear's tip pressed deep. Vera froze. His energy blade stopped an inch from Daniel's face. One wrong move and the human would have ended him. The hall went silent again. Instructor Vera looked down at the spear lodged against his weak point. His yellow eyes widened, then narrowed. Slowly he lowered his blades and stepped back. Enough, Vera said, his voice calm but heavy. He pulled away and Daniel withdrew his spear. The duel is over. The cadets exhaled in relief and shock. None of them had expected the human to last more than seconds, let alone push the instructor to the edge of defeat. Vera raised his voice for all to hear. Remember this lesson. You build weapons with plasma and acid, with claws and fire. You rely on machines. But the human builds with something else, instinct, focus, and the will to survive. Never forget. Simplicity can be more terrifying than any machine. The insectoid lowered his broken resin blades, staring at Daniel with new respect. The reptilian gritted his teeth but said nothing, fear flickering in his eyes. The jelly-bodied cadet whispered softly, "He made us look like children." Daniel said nothing. He dropped the spear to the ground. The simple chair leg clattered on the floor, no longer glowing, no longer sharp, just wood. Yet everyone in the room looked at it with fear. He returned to his seat as if nothing had happened. To him, it was not glory. It was just a test, another challenge overcome. The cadets, however, would not forget. Whispers spread quickly. The human fought with nothing and almost defeated the instructor. Others said, he killed the drone with one strike. And some whispered the most frightening thought of all. If he can do this with wood, what can humans do with real weapons? Instructor Vera ended the lesson, but his words remained in their minds. Never underestimate a death worlder. Humans do not need machines to be dangerous. They are dangerous by nature. As the cadets left the hall, they glanced back at the human who sat quietly, his expression calm, almost bored. Yet to them he now looked different. No longer weak, no longer fragile. He was something else, something unpredictable, something they could not measure with glowing tools or fancy machines. For Daniel, it was just another day. But for the galaxy, it became a story whispered in fear and respect. The day a human snapped a chair leg and called it a spear.